Innovation happens because of need. The need to change lives. The need to support a vision. The need to spread God's message of love and kindness to a world crying out for help. This innovation isn't just in technology. It starts in our mindsets. Third Baptist Church of Chicago, formerly known as the Beverly Theater, opened on June 4th, 1934, and was owned by the Warner Brothers. It operated as a theater until 1976, and was one of the first theaters to show the movie Sparkle. They also ran The Sound of Music for 56 weeks, so some fun facts for this beautiful house. My name is Cortree Trotter, and I'm the media director here at Third Baptist Church of Chicago, and welcome to our tech tour. We broadcast a Sunday service every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. We've also broadcast funerals, memorial services, weddings, and we're also YouTube partners who create thought-provoking content, all produced in-house. The Third Baptist Sanctuary seats 905 people. Our choir of 30 members takes the stage on platforms right behind me, with our band being nestled on stage left and our ministers seated on stage right. We currently operate with a small team of 13 people. Many of those people are volunteers, which are the lifeblood of this ministry. And we have some professionals on staff here because that's what it takes to make service happen and to make it an experience that will help and aid our gathered and virtual members feel God's presence. We also feature a program that employs our youth and teaches them how to use the equipment we're going to be seeing here today, giving them real-world job experience. With our youngest member being 16-year-old Chase, who is with us today, right behind me. This whole program was the vision of our current senior pastor, Reverend T.D. Hughes, whose mission is one that I support and believe in, to bring people together, to have a positive impact on the world. And he understands how sound, lights, and video affect the worship experience. It's important to us that our members in both spaces be able to participate, and it's key to the tradition of how Baptist churches worship. Today we're going to meet some key members of our team and hopefully answer some of your questions about how a media team runs, especially on an extreme budget. Go over some of our tech and maybe get some of you to buy into our mission and bringing excellence to worship. You can support us by hitting the link below. Let's start with a deep dive of our audio tech and its team members. Meet one of our audio engineers, Lamar Pates.
So here at Third Baptist, I'm actually one half of the lead audio engineers here. It's two of us. And we make sure that everything in the house that goes from sound is on point. So that's the live stream, that's the in-house sound, that's the music that we put on our SoundCloud when we start streaming on iTunes and Spotify. All of that is being done by us. So outside of Third Baptist, I'm actually a lead audio engineer for my own company called Creation Sound Studios. And what we do there is we focus on production, sound engineering, getting people's royalties right so they're making their money and not getting skimmed out their money like TLC and NWA did back in the day. You're actually gonna make your money right. We teach you how to upload your music, everything from the sort. And we actually have our own live production where we go out and we do things like tiny desk concerts, bigger concerts, you name it. So the biggest difference between our in-house audio and our stream audio is that when you're in-house, there's certain things that you just can't do. So that gain staging has to be proper, the EQs have to be proper. Your mix may not be able to be as bright in the house, or it takes a little bit less for it to be bright in the house due to the dynamics of the room. So, you know, maybe we have natural diffusers in the room. We don't have so many sound baffles and panels in the room, and so maybe you don't need as much reverb because you're getting the natural reverb from the room. Other than in our stream mix, it gives you a little bit more, chance to be a little bit more creative, because you could push mics a little bit harder. You can, bump EQs in places that you couldn't really probably bump them in the room. Like 4K in this room, EQ wise, is a no-go. It has to be cut out. But you can maybe put that in the stream because you're not condemned to the factors of the room. So when we're streaming our audio online, we actually use a Behringer X32. It's a 40 channel board, so you got 32 mic preamps, and then you have 8 analog inputs that you can use via like TR or TRS cables. We also have 16 channels of outputs. So you can use those to mix outputs. You can use those to send things out like our monitors or our P16 mixes. So our P16s, obviously only use 16 channels. That's why it's called a P16. But we can use the outputs on the board to group things together to maybe send those channels out through the P16. So like on this board here, we have everybody that does speaking going through one channel. All of our lead singers go through one channel, and then the talkback goes through one channel. And then we send those to the P16s on the last 3 outputs of the P16. We also have our floor monitors going through the 16 channels on the out. And we also have for our bass player who doesn't have a P16, but he does have a monitoring box in which I can actually set his levels of his mix, and then we send those out through outputs as well. Some of the challenges that we come across sometimes with our on-stream mix is that overall volume, right? Like we can get that mix sounding so crispy, so balanced, but at the end of the day, when it's coming through our Blackmagic audio, Blackmagic is really, really good for video, but the audio portion, it limits us to only negative 18 VU. And I would really like to push that just a little bit further. So some of the things that we can use to kind of get us past that threshold is maybe an analog compressor in between the board going to the Blackmagic. So things like that will really help take our stream to the next level when it comes down to that audio portion.
Well, I was hired to run front of house sound for Third Baptist. So recently, after years of freelancing, me and my wife started our own business to run, help churches come into what we call present day. And so it's been over 30 years of just going from church to church, helping them get prepared for the new age of sound. And so I was excited to have a new challenge. It not only helps my business, but it also helps grow the kingdom of God. A lot of churches don't have the proper equipment, whereas when you're streaming, you have things you can do, plug-ins, you can do a lot of stuff off your computer that you don't have a physical board at your church to do. And so that brings us to this church, because the streaming was so dynamic, the people weren't getting the same experience. And so now, thank God, with the new sound that was just purchased yesterday, we're moving into that to give the live audience the same experience that they see and hear on their streaming applications. I'm glad to have come in at the right time where the SRX system was just deployed, and it's new to the world also. I think it may be a year old, but it takes its character from its bigger brother, which is major concert equipment. And so for this size venue, it seems to be perfect.
Nice, nice. So we've got 16 dual 10-inch powered line array loudspeakers for this SRX system. And we have the 2 dual 18-inch powered subwoofers also at the front of house. Tell us why this system was distributed this way throughout the room.
Well, you'll probably see a picture of it. We have a left and right column of speakers, and then our subs are hung in the middle. And everything is symmetrical to what the computer specs out and where it should be laid out according to how many seats, where your seats are, and all of that. So it is placed in the perfect area for us to have what we call optimum sound. Well, presently we have the Soundcraft SI Impact board, which is an older model board, but it was one of the, if I'm correct, one of the first from analog to digital kind of board. So it kind of kept the same character as an analog board, but it gave you some digital functionality. And so as we look into what we just received on sound and speakers, we're looking to upgrade that so that it will match. So it's not an old technology because it's digital, so it always can be upgraded. But there's some things that when we look at sound, whereas we have a Behringer, which is a digital board too, but it has so much more than what this board is presently giving us. And so you never like to have, I don't like to cross mix my consoles, stations. And so I would rather have something in the same line so that if something did happen, we can deploy it back and forth. So within that Behringer line now is the new Midas boards or things like that. Even if we had a same Behringer board, then that would give us two of the same things operating throughout the building. But the SI Compact is not a terrible board, but it is a board where you have to know how to get in and get out, especially for a church. So when you have a board that is hard to learn, then volunteers won't be able to use it, because you need something that they can just come in and just get hands on and start using it. And so some of the newer boards are more friendly or are open to that, even though you have to preset them and do all that kind of stuff. But the iPad helps a lot too because it is iPad friendly. But there's a lot of things that if you're not accustomed to what a digital board can do and you're just a volunteer, then you can mess up a whole service. And so right now we have a good team that that's being prepped every day. Each of us have our own list of things to look out for, but there's always during services one thing that nobody thought of, nobody was able to prepare for. And so when that happens, if you really don't know how to get in the board and dial it up, we had a perfect example where we had to plug up a guitar and we only had like 3 seconds. Well, it takes longer than 3 seconds to dial through that board to get everything set up. But the show went on. They just didn't use the guitar. But in the future, we're gonna fix all of that. But little things like that pop up, and it's not a big challenge. It's just that you always like to be aware of what could happen in service.
Okay, we have the new SRX, and it's beautiful, and I'm very happy that it's in the house now. But we have yet to treat the room acoustically. What are we looking at in terms of cost to treat this room acoustically, both in dollars and sacrifice to the worship experience?
Well, it's a 1,000-seat and 1,000-seat old movie house. And so now you look at what would it cost to stop the reverberification, because now it's a church. Before it was a movie house, it didn't matter. Now it's a church. You don't want your sound to be bouncing back all over the place. And so now to get it treated, today's costs, with today's materials, we're looking at not just a fix for tomorrow, but for 20 years down the line. It could be anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000.
My name is Warren Davis. I'm an audio engineer with Third Baptist. Been with Third Baptist for about 7 to 8 months. So my specialty is making sure that our monitor mix is pretty much good for whoever's on stage. So that goes for the choir, that goes for the musical director, the preacher, any guest speakers that we might have. Anybody that basically comes on this stage, the monitor mix is my responsibility. So outside of Third Baptist, my name is Ace B, Ace Beats, Ace Boogie. I'm an audio engineer, I'm a producer. I also do social media marketing. So I've been in that aspect for the last 5 years. Started out at Insomniac Studios off 127th Western, and I've really been cultivating my own sound, working with different Chicago artists, trying to get my name out there within the last year so that I can, work in this industry. So being here at Third Baptist has really taught me a lot of the technical aspects as far as live sound and gotten me into the groove with working with different audio engineers. So the tools that I use kind of go in hand with the house engineer. So I basically use this iPad that I have right here in my hand. We correlate the monitor mix that gets everything that we need to. So I use on my iPad what's called Mix Station. So that gets me to everything I need to get to every microphone. If each microphone needs to be turned up or turned down. I definitely have to communicate that with who's ever doing our house mix, which is usually Darius, and we have to be in constant communication. All right, so I've already went into detail on how I get my monitors to mix the way I really want them. What I'm gonna let you know right now is the monitors that we do have. So we're rocking with MR 902 series JBL monitors. We've had these monitors for over 20 years, so it's about that time for us to invest in some new monitors. We have 4 right now, which gets us the sound that we are used to, but to get us a better sound, we really do need 2 more. One for our preacher, whoever our guest speaker is, to sit right here so that they can hear themselves clearly without any mishaps. And then we need another one specifically for our choir so they can hear how they sound. So that's the most important, especially with our choir. They really want to hear their tone and if they're in the correct key. So the 4 that we currently have, these monitors reach up to a 30 to 60 angle playback. So they're not able to cover every area of our stage. So there's gaps to where, let's say our musical director, he won't be able to hear himself. So when I'm mixing everything during our service, he might tell me to give me one of these pointers, and then that lets me know to turn them up. So if we did have that extra 1 or 2 speakers, that allows him to hear everything how he wants to, and it'll allow the mix in the monitors to be perfect.
I want to give a big thank you to Darius Woolfolk, Lamar Pates, Warren Davis. They're just 3 members of our audio team. Of course, there are more members who are key to Sunday morning success. But that monitor mix, that house mix, and that online mix are essential to bringing people that worship experience that they can feel both in-house and virtually. Here, we're back in the booth. We work with our audio technicians hand in hand with our video guys. This here is our video station. We are 100% a Blackmagic house. Here we have behind me the Blackmagic 810 Studio HD, which features 8 inputs for SDI, for HDMI, which you can see here on our multi-view screen. It also has laptop interface that you see here, our ATEM software control. We have an auxiliary connection that connects to our projectors, which project out into the house and through different spaces throughout the building, and our front lobby and our back lobby. It has great transitions. It's a great little program, actually. It's a great little program. It only gives you steel lower thirds, but that's when we tie in our Pro Presenter. We also use Pro Presenter on our MacBook Pro here, which we use for announcements, for different rolling graphics, to incorporate video in our service, once again, to further enhance that worship experience. Pro Presenter 7 connects to our Blackmagic Television Studio HD using a Thunderbolt 3 cable, which connects to our Blackmagic DeckLink Duo. And I'll include a photo here because it's buried deep inside our rack. But that DeckLink Duo 2 is a PCI Express capture and playback card that supports SDI formats in SD and HD up to 1080p 60 frames per second. That sits inside of a Sonnet Echo Express SE1 Thunderbolt 3 expansion chassis, which you might also know to be a Thunderbolt 3 enclosure. So yeah, we have our ATEM Television Studio HD with its 8 inputs. That also works with our Blackmagic HyperDeck, which we use to pre-record services, other special events. That works in collaboration with the ATEM Studio HD. And all of those things come together and send signal to our Blackmagic Web Presenter HD, which takes all of our video at 1080, 59 frames per second to stream our service out to YouTube and Facebook and still have it look great. Of course, as you can see, between our MacBook and our iMac, this is an all Apple house, and our pastor would have it no other way.
Hey, what's up? My name is Travis Wright. I am the cinematographer here at Third Baptist Church of Chicago. I run the floor cam, but I also kind of have my hand dibbled and dabbled in all the other cams and trying to make sure that everybody on our team is spot on when getting a shot. The way I got involved with Third Baptist Church of Chicago is Corey Trotter actually pulled me on in. He said that he was looking for a cameraman for their new media team, and he knew my skill and my background as a cinematographer, and so he said, hey man, look, I know your love for God and I know your love for film, so you want to merge them two and work under me. And I've known Corey for a very long time. We've always had a really great business relationship and working relationship, so I knew that working under his leadership would be something that would not only advance my career, but open my mind up to new ways of capturing images. My job not only consists of being a Third Baptist cinematographer and cameraman, I also am pushing to do this full time. Being a cinematographer for commercials, music videos, things of that nature. Outside of that, I'm a creative director, so not only do I hold the camera, I am equipped with telling people how to perform their best way in front of the camera. And that just comes from my background of being a music artist and an actor. You know, you can find me on some of your favorite TV shows like Chicago PD, you know what I'm saying? I was on a little Netflix series called Soundtrack, but I digress. But here I am now, holding the camera, being behind the camera, making sure that people that are in front of the camera get it, because I was there and I get it. And so I want them to get it. Get it? All right, so here we have our Sony XD cam. It's a PMW 300. This camera was actually gifted to us by one of our members, so shout out to them.
The Sony PMW 300 XD cam captures professional footage. It's wired into our system using 150 feet of SDI cable, so they can move freely around the sanctuary. To account for the fact that it doesn't have a setting for 59.99 frames per second, and it can only be set to 1080 interlaced and not progressive. And our Canon cameras are progressive and not interlaced. I mean, they just weren't talking to each other, nor to our ATEM Television Studio. We had to purchase an up-down cross converter by Blackmagic. We set this camera with the Canon profile, and now the image is beautiful. We really love what this camera does for our production. It also has the shoulder mount to make it easier for our cameraman.
Here we have my baby. Hey, how you doing? This is my baby right here. This is camera 1. This is our Canon FX405.
The Canon XF405 is our camera 1 floor cam. The lens features a 15-time optical zoom, built-in stabilizer. It shoots in 4K, Ultra HD, and HD, and it's built for our broadcast because it moves quickly through the room because of its small, light build. We connect this one to our system with a Hollyland Mars 400S Pro wireless video transmission system. With up to 400 feet line of sight, it has very little latency at an 1/8 of a second difference, so no one even notices it.
All right guys, so this is our Salary Works pan tilt zoom cam. This is gonna be listed as cam number 3 for us. It is what captures the house. It's our go-to cam for our wide angles. It does not capture people on stage. It just doesn't resonate or read well. Okay, it also has a small sensor, so it's not gonna pick up the image the way that we particularly like to have it picked up, transmitted out, 4K, you know, even 1080p. It's just not what we really long for in our shots, but it does get the job done. If I or our camera 2 operator is trying to, you know, change a lens or get a different shot, this is what we use to sweep the house and get our audience shots. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here, this is the main course. This is our center cam, our house cam, the best cam that we have in the sanctuary. Yes, we own this camera. This is our Canon EOS C200.
The Canon EOS C200 Cinema Cam was originally delivered in our studio, but it was just too good to use for just announcements and bumpers. It's an EF mount cinema cam and shoots in 4K and HD. The color grades beautifully on it and captures skin tones very well. This camera is good for everything. We connect this to our ATEM using an HD SDI cable that runs to our booth, and it's pretty easy to set up and operate. So even our volunteers can get on it and use it with very little problems.
This camera is what we use to grab our close-up of the speaker. It also gives us the wide shot of the praise team during service. Any special things that are taking place on the stage, this camera will be able to grab all that. The lens that we have attached to it is our 100 to 400 millimeter FE focus lens. It's a full frame lens, so we definitely make sure we take care of that. Not only do we use this lens helps us get that, that really beautiful close-up shot and have a beautiful bokeh in the background so that when our speaker is talking, our pastor, our guest pastor, anybody that's at the podium, they have a very, very clean shot.
So here at Third Baptist, here's the heavyweight champion of the world when it comes to any Baptist church in any world, the Hammond organ. We got our 2 switches. We got our run switch and our turn on switch. They say if your organ don't got 2 switches, don't spend your money on it. So we got our 2 switches. That's that real wood right there. Man, if I go, no, I'm just joking. I'm not gonna do all that. We're gonna leave that to Reverend Dortch, our minister of music, by the way. Each instrument actually has a P16. So if you go over here, we got our MODX8 keyboard, Yamaha by Yamaha, heavy-weighted keys, you know what I mean? Also has a P16, but we also run the keyboard through a Roland amp. So the Roland amp is really for just to give the stage a little bit more presence, because in the real world, everybody would be able to have in-ear monitors. We actually don't have the budget for that yet. So for now, we stick with the amps. We got a bass amp over here too. Bass player actually does not have a P16. Yet again, not in the budget yet. So in the meantime, what we do is we actually use the head amp 4. And what I do there is I just run an output line, and then I get pros mix for him, call him down like, hey, how did that sound? He give me a thumbs up, and he's good to go. Perfect world, we got a P16 for everybody that's in the band. Sometimes we have a saxophone player who has no monitors at all. He's just really going off of the bass amp, the keyboard amp, and then whatever else is going on stage. So in the perfect world, he'd have a P16 as well. Something else that I really want to do on this stage is actually get some snakes. And so what the snakes would allow us to do is not only will we be able to run everything on the stage to the snake, make it look more clean, but it'll also allow us to have some empty inputs in so that when we have guests or people that want to run concerts and use our space, they can go straight in from the snake and don't have to mess up our routing or try to go around the chords and try to run stuff and it's all messy. And behind me, we have our kick drums. We actually didn't cheap out on the drums. We got DW drums in there. We have Samson 707 mics. Just came like a little kit. We started back 3 years ago when we first started streaming, so we had to get something. So that's what we got, but we really could use some better mics to really get a better feel in here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we get the show rolling, mics, stage boxes, etc. But we did upgrade actually to the ULXDs. These mics are fantastic. They sound great. You can push them past the limit. You don't get a lot of feedback from them. They're really clear, really bright. In the perfect world, we would have a house full of these. We're not quite there yet. We're almost there. We have 12 of these. We can get like 15, 20. That'd be great. And we actually run all of this stuff to our stage boxes. So we got 2 stage boxes here. We got the Behringer X32 stage box, and then we have the SI Impact Mini stage box here as well. And all of this is actually running through a splitter, which is down at the bottom. And so everything that comes in from our channels are split off to both stage boxes, and they're hitting back at the same time. So our Behringer is for our stream, and then our Soundcraft SI Impact Mini is for our Soundcraft board that's for the front of the house. And then also down here we have our mic receivers. Each mic receiver actually has 2 inputs, they're duo. Up here we actually have, it's a little mini drawer. That's where we keep our mics at. So as you can see, in a perfect world, I would love to have it where we actually have a tray that charges the mics daily. Right now we actually have to change them via batteries. It's not the end of the world, but in a perfect world, we have those charging stations. To this side of me, we actually have the PowerPlay 16, which is a 16-channel digital distributor. So that's how we get the power to the P16s. And so we got 1 cable going out to the P16 in the drum cage, and then each cable is running through the next one to push the signal out. So here on my organ Leslie, we actually got it mic'd up, organ high, organ low. At the low, I got the Sennheiser MD21. Pretty good mic, picks up low end pretty well. I'm happy with that mic. At the organ high, I got the SM57. It's a decent mic for the Leslie. It's a good mic overall. It's really good for like acoustic instruments and stuff like that. So for the budget that we had, that's why I picked that mic. It picks up the organ pretty well. I don't have any issues with it, I don't have any problems. And we have 3 Leslies in the building, so Leslie's is no problem when it comes to this house. We can rock it out as loud as we want or make it as quiet as we want with these mics. We keep the organ at a pretty low volume, and we keep it at the back of the house so that way it's not disturbing the people in the audience unless we wanted to just rock out.
Welcome to Lighting Central. This right here, this little portion of our desk is where we control our lighting. Right now we're using the Camsys Quick Q20, which is actually a great board for a house this size. It's user-friendly, it's volunteer-friendly. One of our youngest members, she's off and on, she's also our pastor's daughter. She's 11 years old. She knows how to use this board. I love it, I love it. It interfaces via Bluetooth with our iPads. It's really easy to update the firmware through Wi-Fi. You can connect it. It's an awesome board. And we also have different presets that we can load and they can service. Super simple, super easy. Just with the push of a button, or you can put it on a cue stack. A cue stack allows you to just hit that play button and it takes you to the next cue. So, great little board, great little board. I love it, I think it's amazing. It boasts 7 Elation color cores, 72-inch lights on our back wall that we use for up lighting. We can make those any color that we want. We also have 16 Chauvet R1 X wash motion lights on our truss here and on the back wall. They spin, they do all kinds of great things, people love it. And we have 8 HES Solar Spot 1500 CMY lights that are also motion lights. We can move them, we can use them as spotlights, we can change the color, we can add gobos in them. They are amazing. They've been a game changer for this house. They've been a game changer for our worship experience. They were probably one of the best upgrades that we've made in the last couple years. I want to give a shout out to Guaranteed Technical Services and Consulting, Inc., a Black-owned networking and IT company located here in Chicago, who set up our network. They did a phenomenal job training us to know what's happening in this room. Not sure how much of that I retained, but this is where it all lives. Our entire network is protected by a Cisco Firepower 1010 Next Generation Firewall appliance. We have 4 different networks available at our disposal. One of them is for the congregation, who could connect from their phones once they enter the building. I mean, these vintage walls don't support regular cell phone use, and Pastor wanted to make sure that everyone could use their phones, laptops, and other devices. 2 of the 4 is dedicated to media. One allows us to stream through the building, and the other allows us to send our signal at 1080p, 59.99 frames per second out to Restream, and allows our virtual members to watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Church Online without disruption. One of our main missions here, especially with the members of our media team, is to make sure that every heart is open to receive the word, even through the lens of a camera. We have a team of believers who sacrifice their own worship experience each and every week to bring you the word with a spirit of excellence and a joy for spreading God's message. We work with every ministry in this church to make sure that happens, which is also a part of our pastor's yearly initiative, this year's being one heart, led in a spirit of unity. Every decision is made based on these principles, and we hope that's what we're exuding every week when our members walk through those doors or logs in to view us online. We are immensely grateful for the members that you met here today and the ones that you don't typically see, like Reverend Garrell, who takes charge as our stage manager, or Randy Williams, who you see each and every week in our live stream and the comments, leading our virtual congregation through service. It takes an entire village of believers to make this service happen, and I have the honor of leading them. Hopefully you've learned something from everything you've seen here today. Maybe you want to start your own media ministry. Maybe you're starting from scratch like we did. This is Media on a Budget. Or maybe you want to sow a seed and help our ministry continue to grow. Continue to answer the calling that God has placed on all our lives. To reach people and have that positive impact that our senior pastor believes in. Even if you want to come, sit with us, or volunteer, our doors are open.